Hello, my name is Emma, and today I am starting a reading vlog for Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Chain of Gold is the first installment in the newest Shadowhunter Chronicles series. It is set in 1903 Edwardian London, and it essentially follows the children of the main cast of characters from the Infernal Devices series. Some of the main characters of this book include Cordelia Carstairs, Lucy and James Herondale, Anna and Thomas Lightwood, and Matthew Fairchild. As a massive Shadowhunter fan, I did a ton of research to get myself prepared to read Chain of Gold, and so if you're somebody who has yet to start this book as well, and you'd like to know what information is out there and ready for you, I've made a whole video dedicated to everything you need to know before reading Chain of Gold, and I'll link that below if you want to check it out. But despite all that research, I feel like I don't know a ton about the actual plot of this story. I know that Cordelia goes to visit Lucy and James, who are her childhood friends, and she is currently harboring a secret love for James that she cannot act on. But apparently, a new species of demons comes to attack London, and it completely flips the Shadowhunters' world upside down, and they have to stop it. And I have to give a massive shout out to Simon Teen for sending me an early copy of the book to read. You guys know that this is obviously my most anticipated read of the year, and I'm so excited to take you guys along for the ride. That said, while my reading vlogs are normally always spoiler free, I'm going to be trying something a little bit different for this one, and it is going to be a spoiler filled review. So from this point forward, I'm going to be giving you guys a spoiler warning for Chain of Gold. If you haven't read this book yet, I'd recommend coming back to this video after you finish so we can gush in real time together. Otherwise, you're gonna know what happens. I'm actually like totally Shadowhunter decked out for this reading vlog. First up, I'm going to be using this Angelic Rune bookmark that was actually sent to me by one of my subscribers, and I just feel like it matches the mood of Chain of Gold so well. I have my book darts, which I'm going to be using all throughout my read, and if you haven't seen me use these before, they are essentially like little metal page flags that you slip onto the page and you can mark a line or a passage, and they're really great because they're reusable and they don't stick out. So I love book darts, and whenever I read a Cassie Clare book, I need to have them with me. And in addition to the advanced reader copy of Chain of Gold, Simon Teen also sent me some awesome Shadowhunter swag, one of them being this Shadowhunter Angelic Rune book cozy to protect my book as I read it. So on the front, it has one of those like sequin things that you can flip different ways, and then it reveals the rune. And then on the back, it has one of the quotes from Chain of Gold that says, "Love cuts deeper than any blade." And my last little bit of Shadowhunter merch for tonight is this Chain of Gold mug that has the same quote on the back of it. But this mug is actually much cooler than it seems, but I'm gonna wait until later in this vlog to show you its magic tricks. Okay, I'm ready. I'm not ready whatsoever, but I'm so ready. Let's start Chain of Gold. Okay, so I'm really tired and I want to go to sleep, but I read 2 chapters of Chain of Gold and I'm like 65 pages in, which honestly is great. So far, I love Chain of Gold so much. I already know the characters a little bit from reading some of the past novellas, and I actually decided to reread some summaries of the novellas featuring them before I started so I could be like super refreshed on their different storylines. I'm actually going to make sure that I do some reading in the morning before I have a super long day at work and school. So I'm gonna hopefully start getting some rest now and wake up tomorrow to start it again. So I have a very long day today where I work 12 to 5 and then I go to school from 5 to 10. So I don't believe I will get a lot of Chain of Gold reading done. So I'm gonna read for an hour this morning. It's like 8 a.m. and I'm getting flashbacks to that time I decided to read every morning for a week. But I'm so excited to make some progress on Chain of Gold, so I'm literally just gonna sit here and read for an hour and get some reading done. It's been a while since I've like really read for an hour nonstop just because I'm so busy and I always have to cram reading into like small time frames. But I'm really excited to just lay here and be super immersed in the world of Chain of Gold. So Jesse Blackthorne is a character that has confused me all the times that I've seen him mentioned. And so I had guessed that Jesse was the boy that Lucy met in the forest, because I knew that they had some sort of connection. And now Jesse is in the ballroom and Will and Tessa are not acknowledging him. So I'm wondering, like, is he dead? Is he a ghost throughout this entire story? And I just didn't know that, because that's a twist I wasn't expecting. And they said that he died when he was younger, and he's in the same outfit that he's wearing in Brooklyn Forest. And I should honestly just keep reading to find out instead of trying to figure this out myself. He's a ghost. Oh my god, also, James ditching Cordelia on the dance floor to go see Grace, I'm a little mad at him. Like, that was so uncalled for. So I feel like I've done a decent amount of reading since I last updated you guys. I'm now on page 119. For this being my second day reading Chain of Gold, I'm very impressed with myself. One thing I've noticed thus far is that although we are 100 pages in, the plot, I feel, is only like just starting. This is something I've noticed with Cassie's books as of late, probably since Lady Midnight. She takes like at least 100 pages to really get into the story. So far, it's been a lot of setup. This is a pretty big cast that we're dealing with compared to maybe some other Shadowhunter series, so we really have to get a full introduction to each character. These lengthy introductions are something that I know has really upset some other Cassie fans, but this is where my bias as like a big fan of Cassie and this entire saga is that, like, I don't mind, because at any time spent in this world is typically pretty alright with me. I do understand the frustration in wanting the story to start already. I mean, there's definitely been some Shadowhunter books where I'm like, alright, like, let's hurry this up already. But so far, I've been enjoying these like pretty mundane and normal moments of character interactions and getting to know them individually and their dynamics in between each other as well. Speaking of characters and their relationships, I'm already so invested. Like, these are characters that I know from some of the previous novellas that I've read, but I feel like I already know them so well from these first 100 pages. For example, the boys, like, I feel like there aren't a ton of close friendships between just boys in YA a lot of the time, so I've really been enjoying reading about James and Matthew and Christopher and Thomas. What is like the name that someone called them? It like really reminded me of the Marauders. Yeah, the Merry Thieves. Oh, I love that and I love them, and I just know that we're gonna get some like really great content between that friend group. And the relationship also between Lucy and Cordelia warms my heart. I feel like Lucy just has such a strong attachment to Cordelia, and she is just like so unapologetically in love with being friends with her, and Cordelia obviously cares so much for her as well. So yeah, I'm excited for all the friendship content going forward, but where I just finished off, I think it was the end of maybe chapter 5, we had this huge battle between the Shadowhunters of London and demons, and it's like very peculiar because the Shadowhunters are in like a time of relative peace where demons aren't really invading London, and then so many of them just come out of nowhere, and it seems like there's something different about these demons. Somebody mentioned that these demons like can go out in sunlight, and also the Aratzis that they are using on Shadowhunters that have been attacked by the demons, they aren't working. So I kind of feel like one of the villains, because I've heard that there's multiple villains in this series, one of them probably is maybe like this entity that is making these demons more powerful and invulnerable to the Shadowhunters' normal methods. I don't know, it's still early on. I'm gonna maybe try and read like just a little bit more tonight. Cassie's chapters are really long, so I don't know if I can keep up like trying to say like I'm gonna read at least 1 or 2 chapters before bed, but if I just read like a handful of pages, I'll feel pretty good about tonight. So I unfortunately have not had the time to update my vlog as much as I've wanted to. I have not read a ton in the last day, but I'm now on page 140, still just like absolutely infatuated with Chain of Gold. I am rushing to my graduate assistantship as per usual, and I have my graduate assistantship and then my internship, so I don't get out until 8 and don't foresee myself getting a lot of reading done during the day. I am going to make a point to have a like defined lunch break today and sit and read because I'm gonna need it to get through. Tonight I have a live show for the Diviners Club, which is going to take up like most of my evening when I get home. But I think because I won't have the energy to do anything else, I might take a bath tonight and read Chain of Gold in the bath, which is something I really love to do. So maybe that'll be my little bit of self-care for the evening. Absolute blast reading in the bath last night. I got a lot of progress done. I'm now on page 200. I'm sitting down to eat breakfast now, and then I will give you guys a more well-rounded update after. It is Saturday, so I am stuck at work all day, but I usually have time to do schoolwork or edit a video while I'm here, so hopefully it's going to be a productive day, but I do have a lot of schoolwork. So I'm going to use this system that has worked for me in the past, and I'm like really going to try and stick to it today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a chapter for school, and then read a chapter of Chain of Gold. And then each time I finish a chapter for school, I'm going to reward myself with a chapter of Chain of Gold. This is something that really works for me when I need to study and get a lot of reading done. And I hope it's a good, productive day. Fingers crossed for me. So it's like 3:30 right now, and I have been making some progress today. I handed in and like completed a full assignment for school, and I already read one of my chapters. So for my next Chain of Gold reading break, I decided to get myself some froyo from the place next door. It is like salted caramel and almond milk, vanilla ice cream. It's raspberry and chocolate. I got a lot of good stuff in here. And I don't get frozen yogurt a lot, so when I do, I really enjoy it. So I'm excited to continue with this next chapter. Hiya friends, happy Monday. So today is President's Day, and I luckily have off school and work, which is like never a thing, so I've been really excited about it. I've spent most of today doing like work at home and relaxing, and later I have to go home and edit a video and like do more work. But I just got back from therapy, and my therapist and I determined that I have more than enough time today to read for fun. So I'm outside Barnes & Noble right now, and I'm going in specifically just to read. If you watch a lot of my vlogs or even my Instagram stories, I go to Barnes & Noble a lot, either in between therapy and pole, because they're really close to one another, or else I come here specifically to do like schoolwork or edit videos. But it's very rare that I come here specifically to read for pleasure, but I'm just gonna sit at the cafe with a nice drink and enjoy myself while reading Chain of Gold. So I did a good amount of reading at Barnes & Noble. I'm now on page like 2, oh my gosh, I'm on page 312. We are more than halfway through, folks, and I have a pretty big reading update for you guys because A lot has happened. First off, Grace asked James to marry her and like get their mark stripped and become mundanes, I believe, to like escape her mother. And James says no, of course, but then Grace is like, well, it means you don't love me enough. And then she goes and gets engaged to Charles Buford. They only call him Charles in the book, but he will always be Charles Buford to me. And like, to add another layer to this, Charles and Alistair had a relationship, I guess, when they were in Paris together. But then Charles got engaged to Ariadne, who is currently in the Institute's infirmary being poisoned. And then what I'm assuming happened next is Grace used her, what I guess are like powers of influence to make Charles want to marry her instead. Listen, I thought I liked Grace Blackthorne for a hot minute and I really wanted to like her. This girl is manipulative and I really understand like the level of desperation that she's feeling, but it just does not make her actions okay. Other things that have happened, Barbara Lightwood has died from the demon attack that was, I believe, in Regent's Park. To be blunt, I don't really care. This is one of those situations where I care less about the actual character dying and I care more about how it's going to influence the other characters. But Barbara Lightwood was just such a dispensable character. I feel like in the Shadowhunter world, like any sibling that is not a part of like the main cast of characters just like does not matter as much, so they're easy to kill off. I guess we'll find out any more consequences as they come. The gang also went to visit a warlock named Emmanuel Gast, who surprisingly was also dead on arrival. So the sense of like the villain I'm getting from this story is it is some figure that is tied to both warlocks and demons, and Emmanuel was sort of acting under his orders, but it backfired and whoever this figure is then had him killed. I don't have a full grasp on it yet, but it's really intriguing, and I especially like that it seems like Chain of Gold has gone back a little bit to the roots of the Shadowhunter world because it is very focused on the demons and how the Shadowhunters have to overcome this as opposed to like internal Shadowhunter politics. So it is currently 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm on deadline today and had to stay up all night editing a video. I don't know if I'm gonna read Chain of Gold tonight. I'm tired and I did a lot of reading earlier, but I'm excited to make some progress later regardless. So a couple of months ago, Simon sent me a package that had a Chain of Gold chapter sampler along with the cup I showed you earlier. But what I want to show you now is these tea bags that have the cover of Chain of Gold on them, which I think is so cool. So I have 2 of them and I'm going to use one of them tonight as I drink my tea and read Chain of Gold. It's English breakfast tea, which y'all know is my favorite, so I'm so excited. Y'all, I would very much like to yeet myself into the sun right now because I was reading a really long chapter and I just wanted to know how many more pages I had. Very innocent. But I also spoiled myself for James and Cordelia kissing. I obviously knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming now. I'm such a nosy bitch. I do this to myself every single time. I'm still excited to read it though. So as per usual, I'm rushing off to work. So I'm going to finish up my eye makeup and give you guys a little wrap up of what I read last night. I had so much fun reading, by the way. Oh my gosh, like it's very rare nowadays that I have time to like really sit down and bang out a ton of pages. But I read like 60 pages last night and I felt great about it and I am just like having the best time reading Chain of Gold. I've said that a million times. Anyways, so the first thing that I noted in this new section is there was like this dream or this vision of Cordelia slicing a creature off of James's back with Cortana. And I just want to make note of it because when Cassie Clare does stuff like that, like I have a feeling this is going to come up in the conclusion. Cordelia is probably going to have to use Cortana, maybe not to like physically cut something off of James's back, but she's going to have to use Cortana to somehow intervene in some kind of like demonic type presence associated with James. And I just love that Cassie always puts things in her first installments that are going to play a role later. The next thing that was kind of prominent is we found out like what type of demon it is that the Shadowhunters are dealing with. It's like a manticore demon, and like because Emmanuel Gast raised it through like using dimensional magic, it's like impervious to sunlight. I feel like I was kind of expecting a little bit more from this plot. Like, it's very character driven, this story, which I like because I love these characters. But I was expecting like a bigger threat at this point in the story, and it's just like a big scary demon, you know? I have no doubts things are going to start to pick up at some point, and I'm excited to see where they go. Something else that I loved is the scene where Lucy, Christopher, and Thomas are like spying on the, what is it called? Do they call it the Enclave in London? The Enclave? They were spying on them using whatever rune it is that allows Shadowhunters to see through solid objects. And it's a reference to in the Infernal Devices when I believe it's Will, Tessa, and maybe Jem, or Gabriel, or Gideon. No, Gideon and Gabriel were in there, weren't they? I don't remember who was doing it, but it was Will and someone else, and they did the same thing. And that's a reference to the Mortal Instruments when Jace and Clary are spying on Pangborn and like those Shadowhunters as they interrogate Luke. I live for these Cassie Clare references. Oh, they fill my heart with so much joy. And then we had the Whispering Room scene where like Cordelia does her dance, and then like I said before, I got spoiled for their kiss. I knew it was coming. It's just my manner of spoiling myself is so typical for me. But yeah, now that Grace has been like super manipulative, I was really kind of rooting for her and James, but not anymore. So I'm into Cordelia and James. I feel like I always was, but I was conflicted. But now I'm like, I feel like Cordelia is a good match, and I have a feeling like they're going to be the end game for this little love triangle. But knowing Cassie Clare, she's probably gonna throw a wrench in that in like the next book. So we'll see how things play out. And something else I just wanna like acknowledge really quick is I love all the queer rep in this story. I think it's especially great because it is a historical fiction novel, but just like it is so naturally integrated into the story, the different characters' sexual orientations or gender identities. You know, with Anna being a genderqueer lesbian, we found out that Matthew is into both men and women, which is not something that I knew before starting. Alistair is gay. Charles Buford, who I keep calling Charles Buford. He only goes by Charles in this story. I don't know why I keep doing that. He's also into men and women. It's gay as shit, and I love it. But now I am like 400 pages in after last night's read, and so I'm making some great progress. Magnus showed up. So I'm reading the scene with Magnus and the Merry Thieves and Lucy and Cordelia, and they're at the Tower Bridge, and it is just, it's making me miss London so much. Oh, I stayed so close to Tower Bridge, and it was wonderful, and I just loved it so much. And I am going to have to try really hard to not buy a one-way ticket to London today. Love that for me. Y'all, I am too close to finishing Chain of Gold. There's not enough pages left. I don't want it to end. So I just finished chapter 18, meaning I am now like 456 pages in. And I'm in confusion. A lot of stuff just happened, and I don't know what any of it is. I felt like I just needed to film a clip to process it all. So James, Matthew, Christopher, they all get attacked by Cora demons, and Christopher is injured, meaning that he now has this poison in him that the rest of the Shadowhunters do. So Lucy and Thomas are going to get the final root that they need in order to make the antidote. And then James just got a message from Jem that said, come to the Silent City, it's important. So Matthew is coming because he's his parabatai, and then Cordelia wants to go because she needs to talk to Jem about her father. So they get to the Silent City. Christopher scratches James, which I think means that he now has the poison in him as well, and sort of like all the Shadowhunters that have been infected like rise up, and Ariadne starts telling James that his blood opens this doorway and that it's always been about him. Oh, and also obviously the message didn't come from Jem. And so where we left off, James is like going through the gateway, and Cordelia and Matthew kind of seem confused too. I'm kind of feeling like this is becoming a little bit too like Chosen One-y when it comes to James. Just those like, it's always been about you, it's always been about me lines is very cliche. But I'm intrigued to keep reading. So I actually feel like I read a lot at work today. It was actually my last day at the job that I've been working at for the past 5 years to pursue BookTube full-time as a master's student. And wow, that's awesome. It was a chill day though, so I ended up making it to page like 508. So I only have like 80 pages left in Chain of Gold. I'm really hoping that I can finish Chain of Gold tonight. It's only 9 o'clock, so I have more than enough time to. It's just a matter of me like not getting tired, but it's the last 80 pages in a book. I can't imagine I wouldn't want to push through. I do want to give you guys just like a little recap on what I read at work today. So James goes into the gateway at the Silent City, and it takes him to the Shadow Realm that he is always transporting to. Honestly, it was like a little bit of an info dumpy scene. We find out that James's grandfather is the greater demon Belial, who has taken over this world from another demon. And so we find out that Belial's main goal is to possess James because he is his own blood and therefore he can survive in the mortal world. I have a feeling that like whatever big showdown is gonna happen between James and his grandfather, like this is totally gonna be a big theme in the story. And I think in the end it's going to come back to this scene of Cordelia like slicing a creature off of James's back. We also find out a lot more about the Manticore demon and how it was raised, and Emmanuel Gast's role in it, and it was just like a lot of information at once. I'm not really that fussed. I just feel it's important for me to share thoughts like that with you guys, because we all know people think I can't criticize my favorite books. Also, something that happened is Lucy sort of had this sort of vision where she saw that James was in danger, and she was like, I knew this was real. I don't know if it necessarily has to do with like just her family or if she can sense her friends in danger, but I feel like this might be another power of Lucy's where she's able to like detect things that are happening in the present that are like very close to her maybe. Or maybe it has to do with Belial also being her grandfather, because I'm sure the two of them are gonna interact at some point. Ooh, that's gonna be interesting. Oh, my gentle little Lucy with a greater demon? I cannot. So to tie up this like big, I guess maybe it would be considered the climax of the story. I don't know how much more we're gonna get into in these last 80 pages. Cordelia kills Belial, and like I'm using air quotes because we all know that he's gonna come back at some point. But it sort of like made the world disintegrate, and they kind of just like fell out of the sky back to where they were supposed to be. But I'm interested to see, number one, how this like affects Belial and like what his role is going to be in the sequel, and also how it's going to affect James's shadow abilities if like he doesn't have the ability to like travel to this realm anymore. But what really interests me at this particular moment is that James is dying, and Jesse gives James his last breath that he carries with him. And so James is revived and the demon poison gets out of him, but Jesse disappears. So like now I want to know where Jesse is. Like he also cannot have disappeared from this series, because I know for a fact that we're going to have like a lot more Jesse, and specifically Jesse and Lucy content. So I'm intrigued. I have a nice big hot cup of tea. I'm using my Chain of Gold tea bag, the last one that I have. And my mom also bought me some Girl Scout cookies today, which I'm so excited for. It's like 9 o'clock right now, and I literally have no other plans for the rest of the night. So I'm really just gonna lay in bed and hopefully finish these last 80 pages. But I'm really surprised that we found out who Tessa's father is. In the first installment, I really thought this was going to be something like that was a huge reveal at the end of the series. So that's really interesting that now Belial is like a character that we're going to be interacting with and probably fighting throughout the story. And I like it so much better this way. Okay, actually, Jem just said that a Prince of Hell could not be killed by Cortana, as I said, but a series moon would keep Belial weak and disembodied for at least a century. So, like, is he not going to be a villain in the rest of the series? Because I was really getting into that. Oh my god, I need another cup of tea already. Lucy asked Jem to take her to the cemetery in Idris to visit Jesse. Oh, my heart.
So, I don't exactly know how, but somehow I forgot to film a clip, like, as soon as I finished Chain of Gold, which I feel like was, like, partially the whole point of this blog. Not really, it was just a missed opportunity. So now I'm going to talk about like the ending of Chain of Gold and what I thought overall. So hi, this is Chain of Gold. I finished it and it was amazing. I absolutely am giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. It is my favorite of the year as of now, and it is definitely one of my favorite Cassie books. I honestly have no clue where I'm supposed to fit in Chain of Gold and like The Last Hours into like my ranking of Cassie's books, but it is like really close to the top. I genuinely believe it's one of her best works, from the characters to the writing and plot and magic. It was really, really fantastic. First big thing that happened after the whole fire at Blackthorn Manor and they burned it down and all that happened, James and Cordelia are now engaged. They have an agreement to be married for like 1 year and then get divorced. And I'm like, what? It was just very unexpected. Like, I knew we had a couple of engagements in this story, but I wasn't expecting it to go this route. It's interesting that we have like so many stories of forbidden love in Cassie's books, and now we have like this couple that has to pretend that they're in love. Well, actually, I think they like are in love, but I guess they like have to pretend that they're not in love with each other. Oh my god, this is gonna be so good. I'm also sensing some heartbreak on the horizon, but for now, we're just gonna ignore it and keep on moving and ride in this wave of James and Cordelia that I think is gonna be so great. Another really cute moment at the end is Ariadne wakes up and she is like all rejuvenated and remembers Anna coming to her and speaking to her while she was unconscious. And she tells Anna that like all she needed to know is that she really loved her and cared for her and that she will win her back. Oh, I love them together so much. If you have not read Every Exquisite Thing, I highly, highly recommend it, because that is really where the bulk of Anna and Ariadne's story comes from. Honestly, I do have to say I'm a little disappointed with how little we have of Anna in this book. I feel like I kind of went into it knowing that she wasn't like one of the main characters, at least this particular story focused on, but I'm really hopeful that in the upcoming installments we get way more Anna content. I'm so intrigued to see where their story is going to end up, and honestly just like everyone's story, because if you're involved in the Shadowhunter world, you might have seen like the Lost Family tree, and it like basically tells you like who ends up with who. But it's going to be really interesting, number one, to see if all of that like holds true, because now this is what's going to be canon, but also like how the cast of characters gets to those points. And Lucy and Jesse have me particularly interested because like obviously he's dead. Also, the scene between Matthew, Alistair, and Thomas was really interesting. It's fascinating because I was really starting to warm up to Alistair. He was someone I entered the book like avidly detesting, and I've really grown with him as we've gotten to know his character and see his layers and understand his motivations. I empathize with him, and that's the first time I've done that since I've known his character. So it's interesting to like have all these like ooey gooey feelings for Alistair now, and then have like Thomas and Matthew have this huge blowout, and especially Thomas, whom he had like a relationship with. Really intrigued to see how those two end up, because I would love to see like an epic romance between the two of them, but there's some serious conflict right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Last big thing that happened is Tatiana Blackthorn is like convicted of using black magic, so she is sent to live in the Iron Sisters Citadel. But what we find out in the last chapter is that she's working with Belial. What? Like, I also knew that we had two villains in the story, but I did not expect them to be working together. On that same train of thought, I'm really interested to see how this plotline between Tatiana and Belial is going to play out as them being villains, because it obviously like needs to be different from what we've seen in the past from Cassie, because there's quite a few pairings of villains now that I'm realizing it. So I'm really excited to see what's new from it. That was Chain of Gold. That was Chain of Gold, guys. Oh my god, I had a dream the other night that I literally had an arc of is a Chain of Iron next. I had a dream that I like immediately had an arc of Chain of Iron, and I woke up so sad. So sad because it's not even written yet. So I love Chain of Gold. It was so great. I don't know if I've said this in the vlog already, but I really feel like if you are not a fan of Shadowhunters, or if you were like only sort of a fan and you fell out of it, or some of the other series didn't interest you, I feel like Chain of Gold just has so much widespread appeal, and if it's been intriguing you and you want to give it a shot, you absolutely should. I also didn't cry at all, which I am not that surprised by. I feel like you guys might be more surprised by that. As I read more books, I feel like it just takes a lot more to make me cry at a novel, but I have no doubts that there will be some really heartbreaking stuff to happen in the next installments. So that really concludes my Chain of Gold reading vlog. If you watched this far, I'm assuming you've probably finished Chain of Gold, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. I definitely do still want to do like my regular sit-down book talk for Chain of Gold and dive into way more that I wasn't able to in this vlog, but like, be patient with me, please. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon for a new one. Bye!